Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
That's what I tell them. I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. How to code, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with the Hangout and highlight session with my good friend Anika Jackson. Man, awesome lady, have been doing some really cool things for a long time. Known her for a while, blessed and fortunate to connect with her, and really just grateful for her and her heart for service. And so it's my pleasure to have her on the Success Chronicles today and highlight her and who she is. So first, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me on the Success Chronicles.
Thank you. It's always lovely to see you and spend time with you, Chip. So I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's dive into it. If you don't mind, just share with the audience, kind of your background, a little bit about your journey so they have an idea of who you are and what it is you do.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because last time I was on your show was so long ago and I was doing such different things. Uh, so I am back in LA now and I am teaching grad school at University of Southern California. So I'm teaching for a couple master's programs. I even created a class. I'm going to be holding a podcast conference at USC in November that is hot off the presses. So over the past several years, I have really just re-involved myself with PR, brand strategy, business strategy, podcasting, becoming a top podcaster. My podcast, Your Brand Amplified, is now in the top 0.5%. And I feel like relationships and hard work, consistency, and partnerships, and people like yourself are the reason why I got there. I grew up in Kansas and I've lived a lot of different places, including Houston, which is where we originally met. And I would say that the through line between everything I've done is connection, collaboration, and community. So really making sure that people are feeling lifted up, that they're doing work that celebrates who they are, and that they're able to make the right connections to continue to have success. And so it's really interesting when we think about the Success Chronicles and what success means to us and how that pivots and changes over time. And right now, what that means is getting to teach amazing students, being able to celebrate them and help them learn, being able to finish school myself. I went back, even though I teach grad school, I am finishing my master's right now, and being able to do work that's meaningful with people who also are passionate about the work and being able to provide for myself and others.
That's amazing. So cool. There's lots in there that you hit on, and I really kind of want to dive a little deeper in and unpack some of those things. I think the first thing is, man, congrats on, your thing that you're doing there at USC and teaching and being of service and with your podcast and all of those things. I love how you said connection, collaboration, and community, the 3 C's. All right. Let's talk about like the importance of having great connections. Why is that important?
Connections are everything. The reason that I started podcasting is because of work I did in Houston. I had a radio show. I had, a Facebook Live show. And out of that, it gave me the ability to then go on and help produce other people's shows, host other things. And that is, those connections are what got me to become a podcaster myself. My connection at USC was somebody who came out to Houston for an event I was producing and spoke at the event, and we stayed in touch. And because I had a podcast and because of the business I had, and because I held on to that connection and we stayed in touch, that is how I got into teaching at USC. right? So everything just continues. I continue to see this cascading in my life. Like you do one thing, you don't even know that it's going to lead to this other great thing. I never thought I'd be able to be a college professor, yet it is the best work I can do besides podcasting.
Yeah.
I just love
Yeah.
it. Even things like, I am still involved in the community here. I am a
Hmm.
past president of Junior League of Los Angeles 15 years ago, 85th anniversary. We just had the 100th anniversary this year. And I've had the ability to be an advisor to different committees since I've been back. And because of that, because I connected really well with the women I was advising in their roles when they were in VP roles for the organization, one of them is now the incoming president for next year. And I've been advising her this year, and I'll be her advisor next year. And I mean, she's a smart cookie. She doesn't really need me, but it's nice to know I can kind of be there as a sounding board
Yeah.
for her. And that I can also help hopefully shape the way that people are getting their training in the league, in the organization to be the best community members, the best board members, and make impact. And so that's very meaningful to me, and that's part of my service work, and it's also part of my connections. And because the podcast and USC and all these other things, we're talking about doing a podcast for the organization this upcoming year. So just again, you just don't know where things are going to lead, and I would say that for all the good and the bad, I really love the journey that I've been on and where I've seen things go.
It's cool. There's a saying that I say when you were talking about that, it made me think of it, and I wanted to share it with you. And that's opportunities bring opportunities,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
There's been so many opportunities in my life um, where I just got out my comfort zone, maybe asking someone to interview on my podcast, and then opportunities, then maybe being invited to that someone's event, uh, and then opportunities connecting with that someone, which bringing other connections along with that someone, and then now having that someone you back on my podcast, man. Like, come on, opportunities bring opportunities, and
Yeah.
I think when we are blessed and fortunate to have opportunities, we have to be in the moment and really just give our all to the opportunities and enjoy the opportunities.
Yeah. We have to be willing to say yes.
Yeah.
We
Ooh,
also have to
that's
be willing to
good.
say no, right?
Yeah, for
We
sure.
want to leave ourselves open, but then a lot of times I think shiny objects come along our road,
Hmm.
and it's like, is that really the opportunity we want to pursue? Is it going to help us fulfill who we are, our purpose here on earth,
Yeah.
you know, who we feel we are deep in our bones, or is it going to be a distraction? Is it going to be something that we think is going to be easy money,
Yeah.
but it's not really going to lead to anything for us? Or do we want to stay on, and look for the opportunities that are meaningful, that are going to fill us up spiritually,
Yeah.
mentally,
Yeah.
and financially?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think the ability prioritizing is so huge. Having those core values that we believe in and sticking to those, right? 'Cause I
Yeah.
think I love how you said the yes and no. I think we have to be able to say no to the things that aren't important to us, which sets us up to be able to say yes to
Yes,
the
exactly.
things that are important to us. And when we get in that space, it's really good. It's a really good life that's fulfilled because we're moving efficiently. We're not wasting time on miscellaneous crap, if you will.
Absolutely.
You're not just spent like just stuff, right? You're really
Yeah.
doing all of the things that you're doing is like what you wholeheartedly believe in and what you love.
Yeah. It can be, there are things we might think are the right thing for us and that we
Yeah,
are doing as part of our businesses, that we get down that path and then we realize, oh, that's not really
yeah,
what I'm here for, right?
hmm,
But you have to be, again, open to the possibility and open to saying, this was a yes, but now this is not, and this other thing
hmm.
is where I'm supposed to go.
I think too, just hearing you say that, and that could take us to the collaboration piece. You talked about the three
Mhm.
C's: connection, collaboration, community. We hit on connection, but just going into collaboration, I think that's the importance of being able to collaborate so that when you need to pivot or course correct or adjust, you have a team, if you
Yeah.
will, or people around you that support you and love you and care for you that can help you do those things, and you see that like you're not alone, like you're not by
Yeah.
yourself, like we're here for you, let's get it. So
Yes.
speak on that a little bit if you don't mind.
Oh, I mean, collaboration is another base of everything. I mean, that's you and I have collaborated a few times in different ways. You were one of the first people who invited me onto your show. It's one of the first, if not the first, one of the first podcasts I ever did. Then I've had you on a couple of my different shows. And then you've also been generous enough to let my former PR clients and other people I know who I
Yeah.
think would be good be on your show. And that's created a beautiful friendship out of this and other opportunities for collaboration. I so even some of the people I work with, there's a woman I'm producing her podcast right now. She's going to switch directions, which is totally fine because I realized I don't really want to be in the business of producing shows for people. It's very time intensive, and you know, I pour a lot into it because that's who I am, and so it's not necessarily the financial gain that it could be. But so she's going a different direction, but we are going to be collaborating in other ways because she said, "Hey, I still need this piece. So what does that look like for me to work with you?" And we've been able to collaborate on things like trading guests on our shows, right? Business opportunities. Because of the work she does, I introduced her to a professor of mine at Villanova, and then she was able to go and teach there because they're both in the innovation field and creative field. And so those are some of the things I like. And collaboration is also something I see a lot at with the university. In the fall, I'm co-teaching. I mean, I'm not co-teaching, but I'm teaching a section of a class that two other professors are also teaching. We are going to collaborate on making sure that all of our students, even though we're all going to teach in different ways, are going to be learning the same things because it's a
Hmm.
fundamental, right? And there's going to need to be a lot of no ego and a lot of collaboration. And again, you never know where those collaborative moments are going to come from. I keep in touch with so many people, the community, right? Different people that maybe I've worked with at different points. Either I've worked for them, they've worked for me. And we still stay in touch because we know our work together isn't done. There is more for us. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we're going to stay connected because that collaboration that we had was so valuable to both of us that we know that there's more in store.
Yeah, first off, amen. I agree with that. But then, but then secondly, going into community, the third C that you hit on, uh, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about like being at some of the things that you've done, or like seeing some of the things like that you do, right? And you're all about community, right? Like you're like, or not just on the Success Chronicles saying, "Hey guys, community, like we need to try." No, no. You have lived community and setting community up and putting people together and being intentional uh, about your connections and placing people. So talk about that a little bit if you don't mind. Just the importance of, I don't know. I think first off, uh, being a part of great community, but then also being intentional about creating community.
hmm Oh, wow, there's so many ways we could go with this one.
Yeah.
But it is something I try to do really intentionally. And it's something that I realized that I've always had great joy in is helping create community, whether it was when I started out promoting DJs and clubs and creating community on the dance floor and just getting people together who might not know each other, but giving them the opportunity to realize they are community, they have opportunities for collaboration. And I think as I don't want to say older, but as I get older, right,
Seasoned.
wiser, whatever, seasoned, I love
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
seasoned, community is ever more important. Thinking about who you surround yourself with, how are you showing up for your community? How's the community pouring back into you? Making sure that that's in alignment, because it's very easy to get caught up in communities that are shiny objects, again, going back to that, that won't necessarily fulfill you. I mean, I've been in communities where, it was it was very flashy and we were always out and about. And then as soon as one thing changes in your life, people say, oh, if you don't have this much income, or if you're not married to somebody who has this, you are not part of our community anymore. So then you really realize who is in your community and who's not, who's for you and who's not. So it becomes more precious, right? You might build community a little more slowly, but it's something I try to do for my students a lot. Again, just going back to them, if they have been in my podcast course, if they want to join my online community after, so they can be surrounded with other podcasters, happy to put them in because they've already spent the money on their education, right? I put my students into community with each other in my classes. I have them do breakout sessions, or peer groups, so that they aren't just hearing from me or experts that I bring in, but they're also able to hear from each other, and they're also able to help each other. And so that's something, again, it might not grow quickly, but I'd rather be really intentional than have fast growth.
That's so good. I love that. I think that's, more so quality over quantity.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
Because everything else will come, right?
for
If you're
sure.
stepping out, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, money follows, community
Yeah,
follows, the right people are put into your path.
yeah, yeah. So I know, now kind of your thing that you're really focused in on is, helping people with podcast strategy and growth and business growth. Maybe just talk about some of that a little bit. Some of the things that you're doing, and so that the audience can understand. So if
Yeah.
something they need help with, want to reach out to you for your services, we'd love to be able to, highlight you on that. Talk about that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, uh, because for the first few years of my podcast, I was pouring money into it. I was testing out different things, but I didn't realize that I had a full on business brand,
Mm,
right? Because I also was working at agencies. I was like a VP of advertising agencies twice during that time. Had my PR firm. I was starting to teach. So I was doing all these other things. And so I was kind of distracted. And then had to sit back and somebody was like, hey, you know that you actually have a full business. Like your podcast is doing really well. You have good growth. You have a wait list that's a year long. You have people who want to be on your show and show up, right? So that's when I went, oh my gosh, I did this kind of backwards. So now, but I have great systems and processes in place for my show. I have a great team. So now I take everything I've learned and help other people figure out what their next step is. So if it's somebody who needs to who's wanting to start a podcast, we start there, right?
hmm
And so part of that looks like I have an online community. We have 2 sessions a week that people can drop in and ask questions, or we'll go through certain things depending on where they are in their journey. I have other people who just want a podcast audit and a new strategy, and they want to make sure their SEO is tight and that they're reaching the right audience and that they know how to do that. I have other people who are writing books and are exploring business ideas, and so I'm doing straight up business coaching and consulting. So let's examine both these ideas that you have. Let's look at the market research. Let's figure out if this is viable, and then what are the next steps. So it's really fun to be able to walk people through this process, right? Of how are they going to start their business and making sure that they're being really intentional with how they're doing it. Then again, people who are already seasoned podcasters might just come to me for growth and monetization strategies. Okay, so let's focus on that. Let's make sure. So we'll take some of the elements of my online, community and that coaching, but we'll do other work that wraps around it that's specific for them. And so it keeps my days interesting. It makes things fun, and we'll see where I end up, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm right now, I'm really following the flow of what's in my wheelhouse that people are asking me for,
that's
right?
good.
Yeah.
So good. Well, what I want to do, there's I want to throw some words at you, and we just talk
Oh,
about those words, right?
okay.
What comes to mind or to heart, and we just hit on that. And then after that, I want to make sure that we talk about your podcast conference
Oh, yes,
coming up. I
thank
want to
you.
mention that, and then we'll hit your social. So that's where we're going with this. But I think the first word that I want to throw at you is service.
Mhm. Service. I think we always need to be in service, and that means a lot of things. That means service to our communities, right? Whether that's through our church, through volunteering, through other organizations, but we also need to be of service to our loved ones. How are we showing up for them? And that's something that, we don't always do well at all of those. I know that that's something that I've had to really think about lately is like, how do I make sure that people in my life know how important they are to me? How can I show up for them in the ways that I can right now, no matter what else is going on in life, right? That will still make them understand that, even if I can't do all the things I would normally do.
It's good. Okay. All right. Let's go with quality relationships.
Mm. Yeah. It's very easy to meet people through business, through podcasting, through life, and form shallow friendships or shallow business relationships, right? The people that you get along with really well, on a Zoom call, but then, and you say, we're going to do all these things, but then you don't see them again. There are a lot of people I want to follow up with, and there's a lot of that. And that's one thing I've actually seen through the podcasting world is I feel like quality people are put into my life. And so there are people that we will check in every 6 months, every 3 months with each other who were on my podcast once 5 years ago, right? But because we now have this relationship, because how's your business? How's your business? How can we help each other? Is there anything you need to work through right now? Is there somebody I need to introduce you to? And so I try to look at the long-term lens, right? And even with some of the more recent business friendships I've made, there are people that I'm like, I need to conserve my energy right now, but I know that there are people who are in my life for a reason, not just a season, and that they are people I'm going to have a quality relationship with. We just are still figuring out what that looks like. But I feel like we've already added a lot of value to each other.
So good. All right, the last word I want to give you. Um this is the good one right here,
Oh,
Anika.
okay.
The good one, right? So I'm gonna warn you before I give you this one. But the last one I want to give you is legacy.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Oh, legacy. It's funny how that changes depending on where you are in life, right? To me, at one point, legacy meant I'm going to make donations to all these different organizations. I'm going to have a brick on the wall or like a plaque or whatever. And, obviously it's changed somewhat because of my financial situation, but also because I have to think about, well, what's really important? Is that going to drive the needle? My legacy now, it really is family. I mean, my daughter, right? And it's not the things that I want her to do or the way that she reflects on me. It's how does she be like, who is she as her own person? And how does she go out and bring greatness into the world because of the things that she loves to do? And that to me is legacy because I can see like what I was able to do to help her along the way on the path, to be there to support her, to answer the right questions, to help her understand that service is important, going back to that word, right? So there's that. And then I think also I want the way people to remember me as somebody who's always kind, thoughtful, and who showed up for them, even if it's in a small way. That I gave them some inspiration because they listened to a podcast episode, or we had a strat meeting and they were able to have an aha moment about something in their life or their business.
Man, yeah, that's really deep. Um, and legacy is man, it's so many facets to it, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you talked about like it, different phases of our life is different. I think that is synonymous to the definition of success too,
Yeah.
right? In
True.
different phases of our lives, success is different because of the legacy that we want to leave and live, if you will.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, I'd love for you to get an opportunity to talk about your podcast conference coming up, and then dive into your social where people can go follow you
Yeah.
and check you out and show you some love with all the amazing things you have
Oh.
going on.
Well, the podcast conference is very exciting. It's going to be November 13th and 14th at University of Southern California. So it is going to be the first, I guess, sponsored podcast conference or university sponsored podcast conference. And we really want to have an anchor conference on the West Coast because all the big podcast conferences are on the East Coast. Or
Mm,
there's a couple of other ones that appear like that move cities every year, but there's nothing that's anchored on the West Coast. So, because I also teach podcasting, there are other podcasting courses, and it's something that's really important in today's world for communication. This conference is going to be open to everybody. We're going to have a lot of independent podcast information so people can really learn how to grow their podcasts. We're going to have some live podcasting opportunities. And just it's going to be great. So we'll have a mix of faculty, of students, of independent podcasters, and some different organizations. Shout out to Empowered Podcasting Conference because they are going to be involved. I'm actually a speaker at their conference in August in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Podfest. They're going to be involved, and Podcast Professional Association, and all of these great people. And that actually goes back to collaboration and community and connection. It's just keeping all these connections. I've gotten a lot of people to say yes, just based on that, and it's so fulfilling.
Congratulations on that. That's pretty
Thank
awesome.
you. And then for socials, yourbrandamplified.com is my website. Your Brand Amplified on all the socials, and then also Amplify with Anika are my personal socials. And then, of course, LinkedIn has all my links. So in the featured section, I have a LinkedIn newsletter. I have an AI clone. So if it's the middle of the night, you have a question you want to ask about branding, marketing, positioning, PR, podcasting, you can go ask my clone who's programmed with about 4 million of my words. You can speak to her. You can text with her. It has a link to set up a call if you just want to do a free half-hour strat session about anything and everything and just figure out where you want to go.
That's awesome. Well, again, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to hang out and be highlighted on the Success Chronicles.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Chip. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
amazing to see you. And
yeah.
I am like, I want to ask you all these questions back because I know your wheels are turning and I know your heart. So
Yeah. Hey, but it's your turn now. So it's you're the one being highlighted. And I think that's just a testament to your heart for service and heart for people too. Man, it's just I've just throughout this interview, I've just reflected on your journey, right? And the journey of our connection as
yeah,
well. And it's so cool. I'm just so happy for you. Grateful that the big man has allowed us to cross paths, and I'm excited to see the next phases of what you got going on because it's always inspiring.
thank you so much. Yeah, and
Yeah,
just a quick shout out, Chip
yeah,
was interviewed on Your Brand Amplified recently. So I'd urge everybody listening or watching this episode to go check out that interview so you can see Chip being highlighted
yeah.
and leave us both ratings and reviews. They are so important in our world for discoverability.
Good stuff. Well, again, thank you, and thank you guys for checking out this episode. We'll see you next time. God bless.
Go get it.